November 14th, 1975, 7:23 p.m. In New York's Golden Flowers restaurant, Bob Dylan sat alone at a corner table, looking at the menu. Snow was falling outside, and Dylan had questions swirling in his mind. Questions about the music he made, his life, his identity. Just then, the door opens, and one of the world's most famous men walked in. Muhammad Ali, the world's heavyweight champion, but also the most controversial, most courageous, and most political figure of his time. Ali looked around the restaurant and noticed Dylan. Aren't you that music man, Bob Dylan? Dylan looked up. The man standing before him wasn't just the world champion. He was someone who had lost 3 years of his career for opposing the Vietnam War, someone who had risked everything at the peak of his career. Yes, that's me. And you're Muhammad Ali. Ali smiled. That famous, confident smile of his. Can I sit at your table? I'd like to talk with you. This meeting wasn't coincidental. Both were going through the same periods. Both were considered revolutionaries in their fields. Both faced social pressure. And both shared the same problem, being famous, but no one really knowing who they truly were. And I sat across from him. Two legends faced each other at the table. But that evening, they were just two ordinary people. Two complex, tired, searching ordinary people. I've heard a lot about your songs, Ali said. You write songs against war, masters of war, blowing in the wind. Your songs have very powerful lyrics. Dylan nodded. You also oppose the war, and not just with songs, in real life. You were banned from boxing for 3 years. That's right. But I opposed it openly. I told everyone I will not fight in Vietnam. You did it with songs. Which do you think is harder? Dylan thought about this question for a moment, because no one had asked him this question before. Both are hard, but you paid a physical price. You lost the best years of your career. I only received criticism from people. Ellen put his hand on the table. Criticism hurts too, Bob. People called me a traitor. They thought I'd go to prison. What did you hear? They called me a folk music traitor too. At Newport, in 1965, when I played electric guitar, they almost lynched me. The two men looked at each other and understood something. Both had revolutionized their fields and been lynched by society for it. Both had broken tradition, tried to create something new, and both had paid the price for it. But this similarity was just the beginning for them. Their real deep conversation was about to start now. Ali continued. But you know what's really hard, Bob? Everyone thinks they know who you are. Everyone knows what to expect from you, but no one really asks who you truly are. No one wants to know Cassius Clay. They're only interested in Muhammad Ali. Amazement appeared on Dylan's face because he felt exactly the same emotion. He was experiencing the same problem. Everyone knows what to expect from Bob Dylan, Dylan said slowly. Protest songs, political messages, social criticism. But sometimes I just want to be my real character. Robert Zimmerman. I want to be a normal kid from Minnesota. Allah laughed, a bitter laugh. I also sometimes just want to be Cassius Clay, an ordinary black kid from Louisville who boxes. But I have to be Muhammad Ali, because Muhammad Ali is a symbol, a movement. The waiter came and took their orders. The two men continued talking, while the restaurant gradually filled up, but they were in their own world independent of the people around them. How do you cope? Dylan asked. With this pressure, these expectations, constantly having to be a symbol, Ali took on a serious expression. Dylan was seeing him in such deep thought for the first time. I tried to be honest, honest with myself, my beliefs, my values. But sometimes this cost me dearly. What do you mean? What kind of price? I said. I wouldn't go to Vietnam. My conscience, my religion, my faith wouldn't allow it, I said. I knew this was right for me, but I didn't box for 3 years. Ages 24, 27, the most productive years of an athlete's life. I lost a lot of money because of this. I lost my title, but I never lost myself because of all this. Dylan was impressed. When I started playing electric guitar, everyone yelled at me too. They said, "You sold out." They said, "You betrayed folk music." But my music needed to grow and change. Do you regret the decision you made? No, never. Do you? Never, never. The two men looked at each other silently for a while. This silence was like two warrior souls recognizing each other. The leaders of revolution in two different fields had noticed the strength in each other. Then Ali spoke. Bob, let me tell you something. You and I are different from most people in the world because we're not afraid. What did you mean? Most people want to stay in their safe zones. They make safe music, have safe conversations, and thus live safe lives. You took risk in your music. I took risk in the ring and in my life. We both wrote our own rules. This requires tremendous courage. Dylan thought about these words. Yes, but sometimes this gets very tiring. Aleo, constantly having to be different, constantly having to discover new things. Ali leaned forward. His voice lowered, became more intimate. Being tired is very normal, brother. But is there an alternative to this? Being fake, living according to others' expectations, losing your own voice? You're right. But sometimes people can't understand what we're trying to do. That's why you end up alone. They don't need to understand. You give them the version they can understand, but never compromise your own character, because if your own self is lost, nothing remains. Dylan was surprised that a boxing champion was thinking this deeply. On television screens, he always saw Ali putting on shows, talking loudly, but this time there was a completely different person in front of him. Ali continued, "Look, Bob, I fight in the ring. Everyone sees this, but the real fight is outside. What people expect from me, who I want to be. I think this is the real fight. Everyone tries to win this fight, but most people always lose. How do you decide? What's right? How do you know?" I ask myself, does this make me a better person? Does this make the world a better place? If the answer is yes, I do it. Even if people don't like it, even if the media lynches me. Dylan was impressed by this. When I write songs, I ask the same question. Is this real? Is this honest? Does this help change things? Exactly. We're actually doing the same thing in different ways. You fight with music, I fight with punches and words. The conversation was getting deeper and deeper. The two men were no longer just talking about music and sports. They were talking about life philosophy. What about fear? Dylan asked. Don't you ever get afraid? Fear of making wrong decisions? Fear of failure? Ellie smiled. Of course I get afraid. A man who doesn't fear is lying. I get afraid too. Fear of getting beaten in the ring. Fear of losing my career. Fear of not being able to support my family. I experience all of these. Then, how do you do it? How do you live with this fear? I don't live with fear. I live despite fear. There's a difference between the two. Don't let fear stop you. Let fear guide you. If there's fear in something, that means it's important work. Dylan nodded. He had never thought about the subject from this angle before. I experienced the same thing when making music. When writing a new song, when trying a new sound, I get afraid. What if it doesn't work? What if my fans don't like this? But that fear tells me, maybe this song could be one that changes you. Exactly like that. Fear shows us how important something is. 2 hours passed like this. The two men talked about life, being popular, responsibilities, love, family, fears about the future. I love untold stories. Once I returned to Louisville, the neighborhood of my childhood. When my old friends saw me, they said, "Hey, Cassius." I'll never forget that moment. Because someone still saw me as Cassius, not Muhammad Ali, just Cassius. Dylan also shared. I experience the same thing when I go to Minnesota. My old friends say Bobby. And those moments are very precious because for them, I'm still that kid. Not Bob Dylan, just Bobby Zimmerman. Then Ali said something very personal. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. And I ask myself, am I really Muhammad Ali? Or am I Cassius Clay playing Muhammad Ali? Frankly, this question bothers me. Dylan was surprised. I experience the same thing. Sometimes when going on stage, I say to myself, am I really Bob Dylan or am I Robert Zimmerman playing Bob Dylan? There you go. Do you see? We both have the same fears. We're both afraid of the same thing. We're afraid of losing ourselves. So, how do you solve this problem? Ali thought seriously. I do this. Every morning, I look at myself in the mirror and say, today you are both Cassius Clay and Muhammad Ali. Both are real, protect both. Dylan took a deep breath at this answer. That's a very powerful approach. You try it too. Every morning, tell yourself, I am both Robert Zimmerman and Bob Dylan. Both are real. Toward late hours, as Ali was about to leave, he said, one last thing. Bob, one more piece of advice. Never lose yourself. Neither Cassius Clay nor Robert Zimmerman. Because if you lose your own self, your music will be lost too. The world needs your real voice. Dylan stood up. You never change either, Ali. The world always needs people as brave as you, as honest as you. They shook hands. But this wasn't an ordinary handshake. This was two warrior souls showing respect for each other. As Ali was leaving, he turned to Dylan. Let's do something together someday. You music, me words, what do you say? Great idea, Dylan said, smiling. And remember, live this life not with your fears, but despite your fears. That night, when Dylan returned home, he couldn't sleep because his conversation with Adi had affected him greatly. Questions, thoughts, and words were spinning in his mind. Suddenly, he picked up his guitar and started writing. Hurricane was born that night. Reuben Carter was a black boxer who had been unjustly imprisoned. Dylan had heard his story, but had never felt it this closely. After his conversation with Ali, Reuben Carter's story found something from within himself. Just like Ali, it was time to raise his voice against injustices. In Dylan's eyes, Carter was another version of Ali, a man who fought against the system, stood upright, and didn't bow to injustice. While writing the song, he remembered Ali's words. Live this life not with your fears, but despite your fears. Carter's story was a frightening story. Racism, injustice, systematic oppression. But Dylan told this story despite his fears. When Hurricane came out in 1976, it made a big impact. People asked why Dylan wrote a song for a boxer. Dylan said in an interview, Muhammad Ali taught me this. A real artist cannot remain silent when they see injustice. Reuben Carter's story is injustice embodied. Ali had also heard Hurricane and loved it very much. When a journalist asked Ali, he said, Dylan is a real fighter. He also fights in his own ring. I fight with my fists. He fights with his words. In 1978, Ali and Dylan met again at a charity event. Ali approached Dylan. I listened to that song, the Hurricane song. It was wonderful. It was great support for Reuben Carter. I wrote it after taking your advice. Being honest, telling the truth, standing against injustice. You turned out to be a good student, Ali said, laughing. I found myself a good teacher, Dylan said. They both laughed. Their friendship deepened even more that day. Years passed. Ali retired from boxing. Dylan continued making music, but the bond between them never broke. In the 1980s, Ali's health problems began. His speech slowed down. His hands started trembling. Dylan visited him regularly. In the 1990s, Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He began having difficulty speaking. When Dylan visited him in the hospital, Ali spoke with difficulty, but Dylan understood every word. Are you still honest? Are you still living despite fear? Dylan put his hand on Ali's hand. As much as I can. My teacher is you. You taught me this. Every morning I look in the mirror and say, I am both Robert and Bob, and both are real. Ali smiled. There was still that old sparkle in his eyes. Good, never lose yourself. When Ali lit the torch at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, Dylan watched on television and cried. This man taught me to be courageous. He told his wife. He taught me honesty. He taught me to live despite my fears. When Ali died in 2016, Dylan attended his funeral. In his funeral speech, he said, Muhammad Ali gave me the three most important lessons of my life. Be real, don't be afraid, and never give up. These three lessons shaped my music, my life. Dylan is 83 years old today, still giving concerts, still writing songs. Every morning, when he looks in the mirror, he remembers Ali's words. You are both Robert Zimmerman and Bob Dylan. Both are real. Every time he goes on stage, he remembers Ali's other words. Live this life not with your fears, but despite your fears. And every time he writes a new song, he remembers Ali's last words. Never lose yourself. He doesn't lose himself. Because in 1975, in a restaurant, he learned that real strength comes from honesty. Real courage comes from living despite your fears. Muhammad Ali taught him this. Two legends, one dinner, three lifelong lessons. Sometimes the most important conversations happen in completely unexpected places. Sometimes a genius from another field shows you how to be better in your own field. Bob Dylan and Muhammad Ali. Music and sports. Two different worlds, but the same values. Honesty, courage, and never giving up. November 14th, 1975. A friendship that began at the Golden Flowers restaurant. And three lessons that lasted a lifetime. Be real. Live despite your fears. Never lose yourself. Ella's gift to Dylan. Dylan's gift to music. And both their gifts to the world.